Vino is a brain-dead loser whose only talent is making magical potions. However, everything changes when he gets kicked out of his party for gooning over the leader's sister. But it turns out to be a blessing in disguise as he falls right into the arms of a down-bad goth mommy who's more than ready to tie the knot and help him take revenge on his ex-party members. The story begins with Vino becoming an unk and having his talent revealed by a priest. Apparently, his talent was of a potion user, the weakest and the lowest-ranking job. A potion is a bottle filled with recovery medicine, and Vino has the ability to brew and handle these potions really well. Meanwhile, his friends were granted useful talents like warlords, warriors, and mages. For adventurers, power is justice, and someone like Vino doesn't even have bare minimum strength. Currently, he is getting roasted by a party member, Hostel, of a class party he joined for being a weakling. They talk about how he can't even beat all the mid-takes allegations, let alone the monsters. Luckily, Amina takes his side, saying that Vino is doing his best while the party leader Tommy remains silent. Apparently, Vino knows some of them from before, but they all ranked up to A class, leaving his sorry bum behind. Right now, they are in a ranked dungeon in order to eliminate the poison Cerberus. Even Vino is aware of the limit of his abilities and plans on leaving the party after this quest. Later, everyone sits around a campfire, taking a break when Vino notices Canadia, a class adventurer, struggling to move. Hostel calls her the Grim Reaper, surprised that she is still alive, while Rune hopes she bites the dust soon. According to Vino, Canadia is an unparalleled solo ranker, but is hated by everyone. Furthermore, he wonders if she ran out of healing potions, but by that time, his party members begin moving forward. Sadly, Canadia fails to move forward and falls onto the ground. Vino approaches her and mentions how she's been on a hell lot of quests. However, Canadia replies, saying that his breath smells, hurting the poor lad's feelings. Nonetheless, he offers her some of the healing items he has. Seeing her hesitant to take it, Vino first drinks the potion himself and lets her know that there isn't any poison in the potion. After asking her to drink it, Vino leaves, and as soon as Canadia takes a sip, all of her wounds begin to heal. On the other hand, Tommy along with Hostel and Anima are fighting Cerberus. All of them manage to land some attacks on the monster, and amidst this battle, Vino throws a potion right into Rune's mouth. Following this, he begins throwing potions to others as well, but they keep on complaining about how slow he is. Eventually, they manage to strike down the monster, and Vino seems glad that he stayed up all night to make those potions. After that, Tommy calls out his name and informs Vino that he has earned the right to take the S-rank promotion test. Additionally, he thanks Vino for always being there for him and mentions that as they will now be S-rankers, he wants to make a name for himself. Just then, he stabs Vino with a knife, thanking him for everything he did. While he screams in pain, Rune makes sure to attack him with fire, adding to the pain he's already experiencing. Turns out Tommy wants to take advantage of the compensation system, as they will receive a hefty payment in this way. Furthermore, Tommy tells Amina to accept this as well, saying that he can be replaced by a healing mage and that they don't need incompetent people like Vino. Following that, Tommy makes sure to steal Vino's bag, and Rune promises to give a portion of that payment to Vino's hometown. However, Vino tries to get back up, and just when Tommy is about to finish him off, the ground suddenly begins shaking. To their surprise, a dragon with a slimmer neck than your chances of passing that math exam appears out of nowhere. All of them begin to freak out, and Tommy orders Rune to buy time using her magic. Rune also decides to use Vino as bait, and with that being said, they all get away, leaving him on his own. The dragon is about to bite his head off. Vino memories begin flashing right before his eyes. Just when Vino completely gives up, Canadia strikes the dragon, and when asked if she really saved him, Canadia replies that Vino did give her his potion. She then moves forward, saying that it's her family tradition to return things, while Vino quickly drinks a potion to recover his injury. Sadly, her strength is not enough to deal with the dragon, and when Vino asks why she isn't running away, Canadia replies that he will be eliminated if she did. Furthermore, she calls it an honorable death if she dies protecting him and runs toward the dragon again. However, Vino can't accept Canadia throwing away her life and decides to act as bait. After apologizing to his family, Vino throws one of his potions toward the dragon, causing it to roar in pain. After that, he makes sure to give one to Canadia as well, and after drinking it, she easily manages to slash the dragon's neck. But Vino can't seem to take it anymore and ends up fainting. Later, he finds himself lying in Canadia's thick thighs. After apologizing for everything, he introduces himself as Vino. Cannadia asks him about his party and finds everything terrible that they did to him. While Vino wonders what he should do now, Cannadia mentions that he's a special person, as he's the one who broke the dragon's neck in the last battle. Furthermore, she says that it would have been impossible for someone to throw potions at her with pinpoint accuracy. Her words give him the courage to continue being an adventurer. Afterward, Cannadia decides to take her leave, but Vino stops her, asking if she wants to form a party with him. She wonders if he's saying it because of her hair, but Vino replies that her black hair actually turns him on. Hearing this freaks her out, and him telling Cannadia to be his increases her embarrassment even further. Cannadia then replies that she knows what he means and promises to marry him in the town tomorrow, calling him her dear before leaving. Following that, Vino arrives in the town named Egbard and decides to head over to the guild. There, the receptionist named Milva greets him and questions if he came with the assault team. This makes Vino figure that news about his so-called demise hasn't reached town and informs her that he's out of the assault team now. After hearing that Vino will be moving his base, Milva is glad to have a ranker, but gets reminded by him that his powers are not a rank. Following that, he sells the dragon scales and wings to a butcher who in return gives him a ton of bread. Satisfied, Vino returns with the money and buys some potion on his way back as well. Additionally, he decides to share some of the money with Cannadia and plans to make more potions after returning. However, as soon as he opens the door of his room, he finds Cannadia, asking if he'll like to eat first, take a bath or do her. This comes as a shock to Vino, and he mentions that Cannadia was supposed to come tomorrow, but she mentions that she just couldn't wait to meet him. After seeing her luggage, Vino asks if she's moving in, to which she agrees, saying that married couples always live together. Vino can't believe that this is happening to him, and soon after, Cannadia mentions that she made dinner, and having no other choice, Vino agrees to eat it. Following that, he decides to inform her about their plans for tomorrow, causing her to get excited over this face-to-face meeting. Vino notices her change in character, and Cannadia lets him know that it's natural for her to be herself in front of the man who'll clap her later that night. After that, Vino realizes that they will be working together and asks Cannadia to stop adding Sen after her name, and she decides to just call him Vino from now. This makes Vino question how old she is, to which Cannadia replies that she's actually 2 years younger than him. Vino realizes that she must be quite the prodigy, and Cannadia reassures him that she's still a devoted woman at this age. Later, he takes a look at the jobs present at the guild, and Milva is amazed that he's teaming up with another ranker. After that, Milva thanks Cannadia for gathering the herbs the other day, and she replies in quite a cold manner. As they are about to leave, Vino notices people whispering about the Grim Reaper and talking about how there is no way Cannadia could have beaten that dragon. To his surprise, Cannadia takes him away by holding his hand, while Vino thinks about how he doesn't like it when people badmouth his waifu. Later that day, the two of them are busy setting traps, and Vino asks Cannadia if something's on her mind. He wonders if it's about what happened at the guild, and Cannadia replies that she's used to these things, but thinks that Vino might get a bad reputation because of her as well. Vino lets her know that he is a sore loser with a bad reputation as well, and reminds Cannadia that he was the one who invited her in the first place. This statement cheers her up, but the two of them get interrupted when a wolf gets captured in the trap they had set earlier. But to his surprise, Cannadia pushes him forward, wanting to support him from behind. Following that, Cannadia asks Vino to watch her every move while he decides to practice throwing potions as well. Now, he plans on learning how to attack, and with that being said, Vino takes out potions bottles and throws them at the wolves. He continues to throw potions at the other wolves as well until all of them are defeated. Cannadia mentions that she's useless, but Vino reassures her that he'll need her help next time for sure. That night, the two of them are cooking dinner, and after taking a sip of the soup, Cannadia comments on how good it is and mentions how happy she is as she's used to eating on her own. Eventually, Vino asks Cannadia the reason she became an adventurer, and she lets him know that it's because of her black hair. Apparently, she is a descendant of a black-haired family, and her sword technique was passed down from her father. Vino is aware that people with black hair used to create havoc in the past. Furthermore, Cannadia left the village because she couldn't accept being persecuted because of her hair and is trying to change the mindset of people by becoming an S ranker. However, she's been struggling more and more after becoming an A ranker. Still, she was happy when Vino invited her and complimented her black hair as she took care of it, wanting to fall in love with the person who praised her hair. Vino then promises to support her as he's been trying to figure out what to do after leaving his party. He wishes to see the world Canadia dreams of and suggests they support each other. Canadia thanks him for his kind words, promising to give her kitty whenever he pleases. While Canadia is asleep, Vino stays awake to keep watch and makes up his mind to not let anyone badmouth him. He then notices her smiling when suddenly, she grabs his shoulder and begins choking him. The next day, Canadia mentions dreaming about being hugged, and soon after, they arrive at the abandoned church inhabited by gargoyles. As soon as they enter, they both notice 3 of them sitting above, and when Vino questions if she can handle them, Canadia replies that she's not alone and will show him her best. With that being said, she begins attacking those gargoyles but ends up getting injured by their unexpected powers. Just then, Vino throws a potion towards her, allowing her to drink and heal all of her wounds. Canadia then rushes towards the gargoyles again, and this time manages to slash them all. Vino is surprised by her skills, and Canadia asks if she was able to help him this time. On their way back, Vino says that he needs to catch up with her speed as well, and Canadia says that she feels embarrassed having something so big in her mouth. Vino then starts bringing stuff about his old party, and Canadia lets him know that he isn't in any way a useless comrade. His throwing technique, potions and instructions are good enough, and that his old party really had no eyes. Vino agrees, and Canadia tells him that she's really grateful to have him by her side. Hearing this brings a smile on Vino's face, and he suggests making a fresh start together. On the other hand, his old party members are fighting T-Rex from Temu, and can't figure out why they can't even beat such a weak monster. Ostel wonders why he hasn't heard from the guild about his S-rank promotion and gets told by Tommy to shut up. While he's thinking about their battle earlier, he hears Amina wanting to eat Vino's cream soup, saying that this wouldn't have happened if he was still here. When Ostel tells her not to talk about him, Amina replies that even though Vino was a complete dimwit, at least he was good at cooking. Additionally, Tommy has heard that Vino is still alive, but hasn't spread any rumors about them. Following that, Ostel begins confronting their new healer for not properly doing his job, but the healer named Gal begins mocking them instead. Gal calls Ostel for not having the balls to fight like a warrior, tells Amina that she can never become the dragon warrior with such pathetic martial arts skills, calls Rune a magic who does nothing but cheap parlor tricks, and lastly tells Tommy that the only thing he can lead is a herd of sheep. Furthermore, Gal mentions that Vino must have been amazing and wishes he could team up with him instead. Amina agrees, saying that they could keep fighting with his potions, but quickly gets shut down by Tommy. Just then, they hear a strange sound followed by the sudden appearance of a dragon. On the other hand, Vino also manages to take down a dragon using his potion bottles. Canadia says that she doesn't have a chance to fight and wonders if she'll be kicked out. But Vino reassures her that he needs her on the front lines, making her excited and mentioning how a good wife should always support her husband. These recent fights made Vino realize that he can defeat anything and wants to fight bigger monsters now. Afterward, Vino suggests moving to a trading town to take on a rank quests, and Canadia promises to keep him safe until they get to the town. Vino then figures that they'll be free today, making Canadia invite him on a date. Later that day, Vino is beyond flustered and thinks that his mother is the only woman who has ever given him the time of the day. Soon after, Canadia appears, wearing a cute casual dress. She instantly grabs his hands and takes him towards the town. Vino then talks about her clothes and asks why she doesn't usually wear them. Canadia replies that many people throw rocks at her, and she doesn't want the clothes to get dirty. Just then, she notices an ice cream shop, and the two of them end up buying some. Following that, they make sure to visit many other places as well, and Vino hopes that they can go around like this in the trading town as well. Canadia then questions if Vino still wants to be with her despite how she's mistreated by everyone, saying that he could be really unfortunate. However, Vino doesn't seem to mind it at all when suddenly, a little brat bumps into Canadia, later apologizing for his mistake. After thinking about this situation, Vino suddenly figures something out and asks Canadia about her wallet. He then gets a good grip on those giant peaches, telling Canadia that her wallet had been stolen. On their way back, Canadia asks Vino how he knew about the wallet, to which he replies that it happened to him a few times in the past as well. She then confronts him for feeling her rice cakes a bit too much, later realizing that he took her to an orphanage. Inside the orphanage, the kid that stole the wallet is hanging out with his friend. They decide to check how much bread they managed to acquire when suddenly, the two of them appear right behind them. Vino confronts the kid and tells him to return the wallet that he stole. He then begins threatening to make them drink a poisonous potion, but they are too busy drooling over the hottie standing in front of them. Cannadia is easily moved by their compliments while Vino promises not to hurt them if they return the wallet. Just then, a girl appears and scolds the kid for pickpocketing, followed by her hitting the boy's head. Vino then lets him know that rank adventurers can do anything with their orphanage and lets Cannadia know that he's just trying to scare the kids. After that, Cannadia begins requesting them to return the wallet as it's a gift from her mother, making the boy call Vino an old fart and Cannadia a girl with a silly face. Eventually, the caretaker of the orphanage arrives and asks Vino not to hurt the children. But Vino lets her know that he only wants to take the wallet back. Simultaneously, the kid accidentally drops the wallet and the caretaker returns it, deciding to accept any punishment that awaits her. Cannadia tells Vino that it's fine as they got her wallet back, while he asks the injured girl, Mana, to drink his potion. He reassures her that it's not poison or anything, and as soon as she drinks the poison, her injured legs instantly heal. The caretaker mentions that she is too broke to pay for the potion, but all Vino wants in return is some water. Following that, the caretaker invites the two of them inside, and the kid questions Vino if he made the potion himself. The caretaker then introduces herself as Piera and the kid as Dino. Vino replies by introducing himself and Cannadia as well, followed by him advising Dino not to steal anymore. Meanwhile, the kids are busy complimenting Cannadia's pretty hair, which makes Vino ask Piera if the kids don't know about the legend. Piera replies that she doesn't teach them that stuff, and she herself was scared at first, but now is aware how kind Cannadia really is. Dino then mentions that Vino must be strong considering he's in a ranker and asks if he can kick those guys out. Piera asks Vino to forget about it, but he decides to make his decision after hearing their story. With that being said, Piera mentions Don Guillaume from Trading Town, someone Vino knows pretty well. Apparently, even Tommy told Vino not to ever mess with him and is sure that Tommy is bribed by them as well. Piera further says that they want to build a big commercial facility and are pressuring them to hand over the orphanage land and wants to enslave the kids. Vino suggests prioritizing the children's safety and advises Dino to join the institution that offers work to children. Piera seems worried about giving the children an escort to the royal capital, and Vino offers to act as their bodyguard for a cheap price. She gets delighted after hearing this and begins thanking Vino. On the other hand, Cannadia suddenly realizes something and asks Piera if all the children are present here. After that, she runs outside and finds the men in suits holding Mana at knife point. They begin talking about cleaning up the orphanage, saying that they need to leave within a week. When Vino tries to confront them, they advise him not to do anything unnecessary. Vino then asks them if their boss really gave them these orders, knowing that those guys are probably acting on their own. This makes them ask Vino to raise his hands up and tells Piera to sign the eviction contract. Meanwhile, Cannadia is having a hard time controlling her emotion, and they begin pressuring Piera to make a decision. To her surprise, Vino tells her not to sign the contract, making those guys question Vino if he can really do anything about it, and after taking out the potion from his bag, Vino replies that he actually can. Furthermore, Vino realizes that there are a total of 4 James Bond wannabes and wonders if he can handle them. Nonetheless, he throws the potions at them and takes care of the 2 standing behind the leader. He can't believe what just happened, while Vino thinks that holding hostage when he's throwing potions is pretty much useless. Just then, he signals Cannadia and throws another potion that hits the leader's face, allowing Cannadia to take the girl away from him. After that, she takes the girl back to Piera while the leader tells Vino not to get cocky. Vino begins thinking of what he should do now, and the leader calls out his trump card, which turns out to be Walmart's best-selling copy of Zorro. Vino quickly figures that he's nothing like the ones he's seen before. Just then, the swordsman tries striking down Vino, but he barely manages to dodge. Vino then orders Cannadia to protect the children while he decides to take care of his opponent. Knowing that he has absolutely no combat skills, Vino makes up his mind to fight with potions and deflects his advance using a bottle of potion, which he calls the potion parry. The leader reminds the swordsman of how much money he is paying him. Nonetheless, the swordsman continues to fight and Vino wonders if he should attack him like he attacked the dragon, but knows that it will most likely turn his head into red wine. However, he still needs to do something and, in the end, decides to throw the potion anyway. But little does the swordsman know that Vino is not targeting his head, but his magic wand right below. With both the tips colliding with each other, he instantly gets knocked out while Vino starts planning on giving this move a name. Following that, the leader decides to retreat and simultaneously, Cannadia gives Vino a hug from behind, complimenting him and saying that he's the one she's always longed for. But Vino reminds her that everyone is watching them flirt, and Dino praises Vino for being so strong, wanting to become an adventurer just like him. Vino advises him not to pickpocket again and work hard to protect everyone, to which Dino happily agrees. Just when they decide to head back, a sudden alarm catches their attention, and they quickly realize that it's the guild warning the residents. Vino suggests heading back to the guild, and Piera asks Vino to be careful. Eventually, the two of them meet up with Milva, who is grateful to have two rankers at her disposal. She then goes away to call the guild master, and Canadia, noticing Milva's reaction, figures that the situation must be really bad. Soon after, the guild master appears and informs Vino that a powerful monster has appeared in the town. Apparently, it's a Calamity-class monster that is on a completely different level compared to an S-class monster. To inform them about its appearance, the guild master calls his father to explain. His father informs him that the Cannonball Dragon appears every 60 years and is known to destroy everything in its path. He further says that the dragon always follows a set path, while cursing the town chief for telling them that it changed its route. Instantly, Canadia realizes that the monster will be heading straight towards the orphanage. Milva mentions that the royal capital can't help them, while the trading town doesn't want to get involved. Canadia then tells Vino that she wishes to protect the children, and he agrees to not turn a blind eye as well. Vino then suggests trying to stop the monster using the team that is currently present, but the others begin blaming Canadia for bringing the monster to the town. However, Vino advises them not to speculate and devalue others and suggests holding a strategy meeting. Lastly, he lets Canadia know that it's a perfect chance for her to become the savior of the town. Eventually, Vino can see the Cannonball Dragon through his binoculars and thinks about how it has turrets present in its body. Luckily, the evacuation went well and only 17 adventurers are currently present in the town. 6 warriors will be holding off the advance, another 6 will be attacking the monster's leg, while 4 mages will try to destroy the cannons on its body. Vino has assisted in fighting monsters before, but now he's the commander. Suddenly, he hears Milva saying that she's nervous, asking Vino if their watch-out tower will be hit by bullets. Vino replies that it's possible if the dragon wants to increase its KD ratio and reminds Milva that she's his assistant. However, his real goal is different, as he plans to use the power of his potions and Canadia's skills to make her the hero of this town. Milva then informs him that the dragon has entered through the main gate. Soon after, it appears in front of the adventurers crapping their pants, making them realize that the dragon might be bigger than Vino's mom. With that being said, Vino orders the adventurers to fight, while Milva can't believe she's going through such things when it's only her first year. Furthermore, she asks Vino how he managed to carry this many potions, to which he replies that he broke the limit of carrying one and made it to 99. In conclusion, he managed to carry close to 1,000 potions. However, this explanation went right above her head, and she tells Vino that the sorceress squad needs healing. Meanwhile, Canadia advances to attack the Cannonball Dragon and slashes its mouth, impressing Milva. Not only that, but the other adventurers are also amazed by her skills and are starting to think that she might not be a bad person after all. At the same time, Milva remembers her asking Canadia if she likes Vino, and Canadia instantly agreeing. Additionally, Milva promised to go shopping with her next time and hopes to become good friends, which is why she wants Canadia to come back safely. Meanwhile, Vino tells Canadia that they'll be going with Plan A and throws a potion towards her. Suddenly, a smoke screen covers the sky, followed by the dragon revealing all its holes except for the one on its buns. While Vino tries to figure out how it has this many holes, the dragon begins firing missiles. Simultaneously, Canadia climbs on its body and manages to get behind the Cannonball Dragon. Milva tells Vino that they need to stop Canadia as it's too dangerous, and he lets her know that the potion he gave to her was type A magic powder. After that, he tells her about the 200 potions present, saying that they are attracted to type A magic. Soon after, the 200 potions begin attracting each other and begin flying towards the cannon monster. Eventually, they all explode on its body upon impact, shocking Milva. Seeing the monster fall, Vino orders everyone to attack at once, but thinks if this much really is enough to defeat it. Suddenly, the dragon lets out a roar, causing everyone to cover their ears. Vino realizes that the dragon will be using its main gun now and grabs Milva by her cake, making his way towards the ground. He then informs her that the dragon will release a heat ray that could incinerate everything. Milva wonders if they will be hit by it, and when he agrees, she begins asking him to run away. but Vino lets her know that none of them will survive if that happens, causing her to lose all hope. Nonetheless, Vino is still confident that he can do something about it using his potions. Seeing the dragon charge up its attack, Milva begins crying, but Vino reassures her that he still has an explosive potion. After showcasing his stupidity by trying to talk to a dragon, Vino throws the potion towards the Cannonball Dragon. Luckily, the potion manages to reach the dragon's mouth and explodes right after. However, the dragon isn't harmed in any way, but its ultimate attacks seem to have disappeared. Vino mentions that the fight is still not over and calls out Canadia's name. Simultaneously, she jumps down the building, wanting to go with Plan B. Vino agrees and throws a potion towards her which lands directly into her mouth that is capable of holding big round things. Following that, she continues to make her way down, and soon after, wings start to appear on her back. This allows her to freely soar in the sky, making Milva call her an angel. Vino informs her that this is thanks to his feather potion that grants the ability of levitation. Not only Milva but all the other adventurers are also focusing on Cannadia, trying to catch a glimpse of her kitty. With that being said, Cannadia moves towards the dragon and manages to strike the core on its head. She then pushes her sword deeper into the core, eventually shattering it and bringing down the Cannonball Dragon. This is enough to eliminate the dragon, and it is all thanks to the black hair baddie. It has now been 1 week since that incident, and everyone is working hard to repair the town, including Vino and other adventurers. Because of Cannadia, the orphanage was saved, and the guild also decided not to build the commercial facility due to the dragon's route. Meanwhile, Vino pays Milva a visit and is called a potion maniac by other adventurers. While he is confused about why they are calling him the potion maniac instead of potion lord, he notices the disgusted looks he's getting from the hotties. When he questions Milva about it, she reminds Vino how he threatened to put his white sauce in their mouth if they refused to drink his potion. To his surprise, two mommies with huge milkers suddenly appear and begin flirting with Vino, but quickly decide to leave. Just then, Cannadia strikes his sword on the floor, reminding Vino of her presence. She mentions that it's natural for a man to cheat and take out her sword. After that, she tries to end her life, but Vino manages to gaslight her by saying that anger has taken over her and that he will never let her go. Furthermore, he begins complimenting her black hair, which puts her in a good mood. Milva then interrupts, telling them that the guild headquarters have allowed them to take the S-rank certification exam. This comes as a surprise to both of them, and Milva elaborates that they can become S-rankers if they pass the test. Vino still can't believe that he also got an invitation, and Milva ends up showing him the letter they received which states both of their names. This results in him getting overjoyed and wishing luck to Cannadia. She also mentions how she's a step closer to her dream. The others begin calling her the Fallen Angel, and surprisingly, unlike Vino, she seems to like her new nickname. Lastly, Milva reveals that the test will be in 3 days, and everyone present at the guild begins chanting their nicknames. Later, the two of them arrive at the trading town named Aitzla. Cannadia instantly begins drooling after noticing the food stalls, while Vino seems to be locked in. When Cannadia asks him about it, he replies that he used to be based in this town before the assault party kicked his sorry bum out. She then tells him that it might bring a lot of bad memories and reassures Vino that they will pass the test and return to the previous town together. Vino also seems glad to have Cannadia by his side, while she is determined to beat the crap out of his past teammates. Eventually, they arrive at the guild where the receptionist takes them to the back room. There, he notices the guild master of the town who seems to hate Cannadia, but the feeling seems to be mutual. Cannadia then mentions that she hates him as he's a very discriminatory person. Vino also knows that the assault party used the guild's compensation, and now they are doing their best to cover up for the assault team. Furthermore, Cannadia says that a lot of people are giving her side eyes. Vino then begins to wonder if they fail the test and become a laughingstock. But Cannadia reassures him that with Vino by her side, she can overcome anything. Soon after, they arrive at the examiner's room, and a dwarf girl named Amelie lets them in. Vino instantly recognizes her as the S-ranker, saying that there isn't a soul who hasn't heard her name. Amelie tells Vino not to use honorifics with her, to which he instantly agrees. She further mentions that it's fine as they are close in age, later revealing that she's actually a 25-year-old woman. Amelie then begins teasing Vino for being a weakling and relying on Cannadia, but says that it's been a while since they had someone worthy of an S rank. She then notices Cannadia and begins ogling at the basketballs attached to her chest, questioning how old Cannadia is. After finding out that she's pretty young, Amelie begins ticking her, trying to find her weak spot. Amelia does her best not to leave any part untouched, and when Canadia asks Vino to help her out, she finds him trying to record everything he sees for future rubbing material. Canadia then tells Amelie to do this stuff with Vino, but she doesn't seem to be interested in his hairy armpits. Finally, she informs them that they will be going to an S-rank dungeon, as it is where their test will be held. On their way back, Amelie mentions that she has filed a complaint about how the guild treats Canadia, considering how she had to operate alone even after becoming an A-ranker. Hearing this pisses Vino off, as because of the guild, Canadia had to stay alone, which has worn her out mentally. Amelie then mentions that she will tickle Canadia for hours if she visits her home, making her run for her life. Just when the three of them are about to leave town, Vino hears a disgusting-sounding voice which turns out to be Tommy, questioning Amelie about what's going on. He asks why Vino and Canadia are taking the exam while they are not. Furthermore, he says that their team has the greatest potential and begins blaming the guild until Amelia tells him to watch her tone, causing Tommy to lose all the balls he had gathered. After asking for Tommy's name, Amelie questions if his team can really pass that test. Shockingly, Vino adds that they aren't even deserving to stay at the A rank. Hearing this, Tommy and Rune begin to yap, telling Vino that he's relying on Canadia's strength, but Vino mentions that without him, they can't even clear A rank quests, and Canadia agrees, saying that they relied on Vino's healing a bit too much. Eventually, Emina intervenes, saying that she relied on Vino's potions until now and requested him to sell some of his potions. This makes him realize that Emina joined their party later because she admired Tommy and knows that she would have become an even better adventurer if she hadn't been twisted by them. Ultimately, he offers to sell his potions for a large silver coin, but when they disagree, Vino begins walking away, advising them to do their best until they reach the level of an A rank. Just then, Tommy stops him, challenging Vino to duel with them, and wanting the exam to be cancelled if the assault party wins. This makes Vino question Tommy about what he just said, asking if there is a limit to tyranny. Ostel also tries to stop Tommy, but gets dragged away by Rune, who asks him what is even going on. Additionally, Ostel also wonders if Tommy knows what he's talking about. He is fully aware that even though Tommy is qualified to be a leader, he has always been weak to unexpected situations. Meanwhile, Vino thinks that Tommy actually has the gut to duel him, unlike the other two yappers, but he doesn't like dragging Canadia into this mess. Canadia notices that Vino has started to hesitate, but in the end, he ends up agreeing to the challenge, saying that he will crush them all completely, all by himself. Amelie also gets annoyed and tells them to do whatever they want, saying that she will be waiting for the winner at the entrance to the Nightless corridor. With that being said, she leaves while Canadia tries motivating Vino to make him feel better. Just then, Gal raises his hand, wanting to pass on the duel. He then introduces himself too and mentions that he doesn't plan to get involved in their personal disputes. Additionally, he doesn't want to fight someone who blasts the dragon with missiles. After that, Amina mentions that she can't fight Vino either and comments on how they first tried to eliminate Vino and now wants to take even more from him. This reminds Vino that Amina didn't seem to know about the plan and was confused back then. Luckily, Tommy agrees not to force them to fight Vino, while the other two lackeys instantly get on board with their leader. Ultimately, Tommy tells Vino that he will have to fight them three, to which he replies that he's good enough to deal with a bunch of small fries. Canadia also asks if he'll be fine and Vino agrees, knowing that his previous party doesn't know about using potions to fight. Canadia further says that she'll be cheering for him, asking Vino to win so they both can become S-rank adventurers. Elsewhere, some adventurers wonder who is using the training ground at the moment, and after finding out that it's the assault team, they decide to stay out of it. Seeing him going against three adventurers makes Gal wonder how someone can be so reckless and asks Vino if he is planning to launch missiles at them. Additionally, he mentions that he doesn't care about who wins, while Amina mentions that she won't be happy if Tommy secures the dub. Eventually, Vino tells those three to come at him, and before they even get the chance to respond, Vino throws a potion in Rune's mouth and lets her know that it's a silent potion to block the chanting of magic. While she stands there in disbelief, Vino throws another potion bottle, this time knocking her out. Ostel gets furious at Vino for using such cheap tricks and charges at him, but to his surprise, his attacks easily get deflected by some mere potion bottles. Vino reminds Ostel that he is a D rank, asking when he became such a coward. Following that, he throws a potion bottle towards him as well, and even though Ostel manages to block it using his shield, Vino doesn't stop and continues throwing more and more until his shield starts taking its last breath. Vino then questions if Ostel thought he was randomly throwing potions. Apparently, the potions he threw were a mixture of conductive liquid. Afterward, Vino throws thunder potions towards Ostel, causing him to get electrocuted and knock himself out as well. While Tommy looks at his comrades in shock, Vino asks what kind of leader sits there without moving. Additionally, he mocks Tommy for always becoming silent at important times and warns him never to show up in front of him or Cannadia again. Lastly, he agrees to sell him potions as long as he bows his head properly. Hearing all this makes Tommy furious, and he lifts up his sword. Amina questions why he is holding his sword when the duel is over, and just then, Cannadia runs towards Vino. Simultaneously, Tommy appears behind Vino and almost strikes him, but just in time. Cannadia pushes him away and takes the strike instead. Following that, she apologizes, saying that her body moved on her own, and while giving her a healing potion, Vino apologizes as he was supposed to settle it on his own and seems glad that nothing serious happened. After that, he gets up and yells at Tommy, cursing and calling him all the brain rot vocabulary he could think of. Furthermore, he threatens not to ever harm any of his friends as he won't be forgiving him now. Vino then reminds him what it means to hurt his party member and throws a potion in Tommy's mouth that causes his body to get paralyzed. Following that, he decides to beat the crap out of Tommy's and ends up throwing all 99 potions that he had. While Tommy wonders what is going on, Vino calls this move Potion Gatling and makes all 99 of them hit Tommy at full speed. This makes everyone surprised along with Amelie, who has been secretly watching and seeing her talk to herself, causing the other adventurers to make fun of her. With that being said, Tommy falls onto the ground while Vino tells him to always keep this pain in his mind. After that, he looks at Cannadia and apologizes for being so careless. However, Cannadia replies that it's okay as it's her duty as a vanguard to protect him. In the end, it was an overwhelming victory for the potion user, and Gal admits that it was pretty flashy as well. Following that, Aminia comes up to Vino and mentions that she wanted to apologize for a long time. She then bows her head, apologizing for using him as bait instead of helping him, admitting that she was so scared that she couldn't even move. She isn't asking for forgiveness, but regrets what she has done to a friend. To her surprise, Vino replies that he needed to say the same, as if only he'd realized this power sooner, he might have been able to take the S-rank test with them. Additionally, he asks Amina if she still wishes to stay at the party, to which she agrees. After that, he asks Gal the same thing, and even though he hates the way Tommy does things, it's not like all of them have no talent. He plans to keep an eye on them and make sure they become S-rank properly. With that being said, Vino decides to leave, saying that he'll leave the rest to them, and Amina mentions that she will be rooting for them. Now that everything is done, Vino walks away, thinking that he will be aiming high with his new comrades. After a while, Tommy finally wakes up and gets scolded by Gal for losing even after using a sneaky tactic. Furthermore, he tells Tommy that Vino is heading for their S-rank exam. Simultaneously, Amina walks up to Tommy, looking really furious, and lightly punches him on his head, calling him stupid for always trying to harm Vino over and over again. Ultimately, Tommy also agrees that it was a crushing defeat, and Amina invites him to become S-rank the proper way this time. This makes Tommy apologize for everything and grab her hand, promising to try again. Elsewhere, Amelie runs to the dungeon gate and appears just in time. Soon after, those two also arrived, telling her that Vino won the duel. After congratulating him for winning the duel, she opens the gate to the dungeon, saying that the real test has started. Seeing the path lead underground, Vino questions about the test, and Amelie replies that it's a surprise for them once they reach the bottom. Seeing the surroundings, Vino figures that there must be powerful monsters around and tells Cannadia to follow up in case he can't defeat them. Just then, Amelie hugs the two of them, advising them not to be so nervous, saying that she has never seen a guy shoot a Gatling with potions. This makes Vino question how she knows about the duel, but she ignores the questions and goes on to touch Cannadia, letting her know that she'll be fine. Amelie then asks Vino to grab a melon or two as well, but he gets distracted by the sudden appearance of monsters. She informs Vino that these mechanical monsters can self-repair, asking Vino to show what he's capable of. Noticing that there are about 4 mechanical monsters in front of them, Vino decides to fight and asks Cannadia to save her energy for now. Additionally, he figures that a quick potion shot should be enough for these monsters and strikes each and every single one of them, ultimately turning them all into scrap. He then advises Canadia to keep her guard up even though they were low-ranked monsters, and seeing how he fights makes Amelie think that they are a pretty interesting bunch. Furthermore, she thinks about how the assault team, being the candidates for S rank, remembers the rumor about them trying to eliminate a former party member. She then begins thinking about Canadia, who came to light out of nowhere, and seeing how she defeated the Cannonball Dragon almost guarantees her S rank. Additionally, Amelie's goal is to turn Canadia into an S rank and call her to the Royal Capital Guild. However, she still can't wrap her head around the weird potion user, as he was apparently the one who led the Cannonball Dragon fight. Eventually, the two of them reach a door, and not knowing what it is, Canadia decides to touch it, which makes it say something about the black-haired people. Simultaneously, another door opens, making Vino wonder if it is a trap. Canadia mentions that they must be on the right path, then to which Vino agrees and asks Amelie if something is wrong. But she instantly dismisses it, and Vino suggests moving forward. But little does he know that the play they are going to is an unexplored route, and she can't tell them because it will put her, an S rank, in a tight spot. Initially, she was planning to meet them in the big room to the right, but they found an explored path. Amelie then wonders if she should cancel the exam and decides to keep going and join the party if things get dangerous. Afterward, she asks Vino if he has enough potions, considering how he's always throwing them, to which he replies that he has used over 100 during the duel, which is making him uneasy. Luckily, there are still about 827 in the holder, and when Amelie asks Canadia if she gets what he's saying, she replies that Vino's skill turns 100 potions into 1. Nonetheless, she decides to continue and plans to step in if things go bad. Later, Vino asks her about the dungeon, but even she isn't sure of the details, as only investigation teams have paid it a visit. After that, Vino begins talking about the voice regarding black people coming from the machine, and Canadia mentions that the Black Nation is the old name of the village where she was born. Amelie adds that it might be a story of the uprising between white and black people, as there's a nation further north where the white folks live. Also, the white people have some secret information, and if he wants to know, it is best to hear from Canadia's acquaintances. This whole situation makes Amelie think of the white-haired maiden in the capital. Vino figures that this place is left by the black race, and thanks to Canadia, they can move on. Ultimately, they hit a dead end, but end up finding a small path with a locked gate on the other side. To start things off, Canadia decides to go and instantly realizes that it's a bit too small. Seeing how her giant racks are making it difficult for Canadia to move, Amelie takes off her shoes and begins tickling her. Meanwhile, Vino questions if it's okay to go any further, saying that this route has nothing to do with the test, but Amelie asks if they do go back, who is going to explore from here on out. Vino also realizes that the investigation team can't get in without Canadia, and for now, Amelie wants to go to the very end, take a look, and then leave. Vino calls her reliable, and when she asks Vino what her age is, he replies that she is 25 years old. This causes Amelie to tease him by wanting to show what her body can do, but before they can move any further, Canadia breaks the rocks blocking their way, exposing the two of them and mentioning how they had a lot of fun during the time she was gone. Additionally, she mentions that the door is open, asking them to take a look. Furthermore, she begins talking about how it's always the wife getting cheated on, and when Vino tries to argue, she puts her blade on his throat, forcing him to move on. Eventually, they enter another giant room where a projection compliments them for coming this far and informs them that the White Nation invasion has begun. Additionally, it wants to test them to see if they are worthy of the inheritance, warning them to retreat if they are a non-combatant. Following that, a wild beast appears from the shadows, making Amelie think that they should totally be worried about it. But to their surprise, Canadia still thinks that it might be part of the final exam. Do you think Vino's potions are enough to defeat the beast? Comment potion if you'd like part 2 of this series. As usual, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.